UN nuclear inspectors have started a 3-day mission to examine Iran's atomic activities. Tehran says the talks with the International Atomic Energy Agency, the first in more than 3 years, will prove its nuclear program is purely peaceful. The IAEA visit comes as tensions between Iran and the West are near crisis level. On Monday, EU nations adopted an unprecedented set of sanctions against the Islamic Republic. They include a complete embargo on oil supplies from Iran and are expected to come into force in July. Well, for more on this, let's now chat to Michel Chossudovsky. He's the author of the book Towards a World War III Scenario, The Dangers of Nuclear War. Michel, just how effective can a 3-day UN inspectors visit be in verifying what exactly is going on with Iran's nuclear program?
Well, I don't want to comment on the IAEA mission at the moment because, in fact, it's the events which preceded it which are, I think, of crucial importance. If we go back a couple of weeks back, Leon Panetta, the Defense Secretary of the United States, said quite categorically, when asked on a CNN talk show, does Iran constitute a threat? Do they have nuclear weapons? And his answer was a categorical no. He said, no, they don't, and they don't constitute a threat. Ehud Barak, more or less the same time, made a similar statement, the fact that he didn't consider that Iran was a threat to Israeli security and didn't have nuclear capabilities. And then subsequently, on Monday, we see the European Union with a sanctions regime, which is directed also against the central bank, freezing its assets, as well as going after several financial institutions of the Islamic Republic. And again, we have to ask ourselves, what is even the pretext and justification after these far-reaching political statements? And I think what we are witnessing here is a build-up towards a military confrontation. These sanctions constitute, in some regards, the staging of a military agenda. And I should mention that in turn we have massive deployment of US military hardware, troops going into Israel to be stationed in Israel, more troops going to Kuwait, naval forces in the Persian Gulf, in the Arabian Sea, and in other words, I think what the United States wants now, including its allies, is some kind of a green light which will give a human face to World War III.
But won't all that be scuppered? Iran has said that it will prove that its nuclear development is for peaceful purposes only. It's simply got to cooperate on this 3-day visit, hasn't it? Just answer all the questions, and that will undermine all those intentions you've just been talking about that the West has.
Well, I think that Iran is playing the diplomatic card, and the IAEA is made up of inspectors. They're not necessarily controlled politically. But I think that what the United States wants is some kind of statement, which it could then use in a balanced, unbalanced way to lead to the next stage. And what we're talking about is escalation. That war has already started. There's drone attacks, there's special forces inside Iran, there's now what I would describe as financial warfare, and if we are to evaluate nuclear threats, we can't apply double standards. Israel is a nuclear threat, the United States is a nuclear threat, France is a nuclear threat, but there are other countries which we never mention: Belgium, Holland, Italy, Turkey, and Germany, non-nuclear states, which have US-made nuclear weapons in their respective military bases on standby, and they're targeted at the Islamic Republic of Iran. So that the issue of nuclear weapons of Iran's nuclear weapons is a red herring, but it is a red herring which could lead us into a World War III scenario.
Right, so you paint a very, very pessimistic and bleak picture of the consequences of what could happen. Certainly bearing in mind the instability we're seeing in Syria, and now you're talking about potential conflict there against Iran. I mean, are you really absolutely serious that the world would let this happen, that we could actually see a World War III scenario?
Well, what I think we have to understand that, first of all, this military build-up has been taking place for the last 6 or 7 years, since about 2005. The plans to wage a war on Iran emerged immediately in the wake of the 2003 invasion and occupation of Iraq. And in fact, they were conducting war games, and what the war games were called Theatre Iran Near Term. That was back in 2003. They were building scenarios. Now, what I can say is that this has been on the military agenda at least since 1995, or according to declassified U.S. Central Command documents. They're building up their military capabilities. They're using economic sanctions, and there's nothing rational. This is
Michel, just very, very briefly, we're out of time. Just very briefly, World War III scenario. What's the outcome? Who benefits from all of that? What's the aftermath?
Well,
just briefly.
Well, the outcome is unthinkable. It's a war which extends from the eastern Mediterranean right to the Chinese border. It could possibly involve other countries, including Russia and China. They have a World War III scenario. They've been preparing it. I'm not suggesting that it will occur, but at this moment, public opinion is so informed and so indifferent to this possibility that we could, in fact, find ourselves in a very critical crossroads.
Okay, Michel. Yeah. Okay. Well, anybody who'd like to pursue the reasonings behind your theory here, of course, can pick up your book, Towards a World War III Scenario: The Dangers of Nuclear Conflict, of nuclear war. That's the title of your book. So many people will probably be very interested to hear what you have to say and find out more about your thoughts behind the scenario. So thanks very much indeed for your thoughts for the moment here on RT.
Delighted to be on the programme.
Thank you.